Are you in relapse? Is the disease in control again? Are you using food to escape? Do you feel afraid, hopeless, discouraged? How did it happen? How did I get here, you ask? There are many reasons. Foremost, it's a cunning, baffling, and powerful disease. Maybe you thought you just needed a little more willpower and didn't believe it's really a disease. Maybe you didn't spend enough time on the steps or work all the steps. Arresting the disease requires willingness to change our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Relapse may mean we simply haven't changed enough. First, no, it's not your fault. We have a disease that makes our bodies, mind, and spirit react differently to food than a normal eater. That's the definition of a disease, something that causes some system in our body to not function properly. Once we have this disease, we have it for life. We'll never be able to deal with food the way normal eaters do. But thousands of us have arrested the disease by taking the actions laid out in the Overeaters Anonymous program. Remember, our disease remains arrested only so long as we continue to take the actions necessary for recovery one day at a time. Let's review how the disease works, perhaps some things you didn't fully understand or did not want to believe. We have a threefold disease: physical, emotional, and spiritual. According to our book, The 12 Steps and 12 Traditions of Overeaters Anonymous, quote, "The disease of compulsive eating does not stem simply from bad eating habits, nor just from adjustment problems, nor merely from a love of food, though all three of these may be factors in its development. It may mean that many of us were born with a physical or emotional predisposition to eat compulsively. What all of us have in common is that our bodies and minds seem to send us signals about food which are quite different from those the normal eater receives. We were obsessed with food, and no amount of self-control or weight loss could cure us." Let's talk a bit more about the mental and physical components. The mental obsession is defined as a preoccupation with an irrational idea. In our case, the self-destructive preoccupation to eat that overpowers all other ideas. The obsession overpowers our best judgment and resolutions. It crowds out the memories of the pain food has caused us. We give in and pick up that first bite. Many of us find that the obsession is often triggered by our emotional responses to life's challenges, and we return to the old false thinking that food is the solution. We forget that this is a fatal disease, and we quickly return to denial and delusion. Compulsion, another word for craving, is a physical aspect of our disease. It's what happens after we pick up that first bite. It can be immediate or it can be slow, depending on the food. Compulsion can be overwhelming or subtle, but it's there. Compulsion is an irresistible impulse to have more, to eat another serving or the rest of the package, even when we want to stop. While an obsession is mental, compulsion is more of a physical response. The mind is no longer in control. Willpower is useless. Whether our compulsion is to overeat, binge, purge, or starve, we can't stop ourselves. The disease concept, as described in the doctor's opinion in the section of the Big Book Alcoholics Anonymous, can be seen as a cycle. Let's take a look at how these definitions fit in that cycle. The cycle begins with feelings: restless, irritable, and discontent, or as we believe in OA, even happiness or excitement, any uncomfortable feelings. Because we have this disease, our thoughts habitually turn to food. The obsession begins. This morning we swore we would only eat healthy meals, not restrict or binge. But now the obsession overpowers our resolutions. We convince ourselves of the lie that it'll be fine. We'll just have this one piece. And so we have the piece, believing we'll be able to stop this time. But it's that first bite that sets up the craving for more. That's compulsion, an uncontrollable impulse that starts when we take that first bite. The key word is uncontrollable. We can't stop ourselves. Many of us continue until it turns into a binge, which can last for a short time or many days. Eventually we stop. But then comes the guilt, shame, and remorse. How could we have done that? We said we wouldn't. We make promises and resolutions to ourselves and others that we wouldn't do it again. We get trapped in this vicious cycle unless something can intervene, something bigger and stronger than our own willpower. That's how the disease of food addiction works. Now let's talk about you breaking out of relapse. Nothing will change unless you take action. We have the power to take these actions. We are powerless over the disease. We are not powerless over the footwork. The first order of business is to get totally honest with yourself about the problem so you can deal with the food. Here are a few suggestions you may find helpful in getting honest about the disease. Go to the newcomers page at oa.org and answer the 15 questions as you did when you were a newcomer. Acknowledge that despite your best efforts, no matter how hard you try, you can't stay abstinent based on your own unaided willpower. Believe that the reason you can't stop is because you have a disease. Next, we need to deal with the food. Many of us find that a plan of eating helps us to abstain. This plan is described very well in the Overeaters Anonymous 3rd edition. It suggests that the plan assists in maintaining abstinence from compulsive eating and compulsive food behaviors, meet the body's nutrient needs, help to handle medical issues, and weight and recovery goals. A food plan should accommodate each person's schedule, food preferences, taste buds, ethnicity, and the reality of life. It should fit the member like a comfortable pair of sneakers, solid, supportive, and comfortable enough to help the member travel over the rocky road of his or her recovery. The first step in determining your plan of eating is to clearly identify which foods activate your compulsion. Start by making a list of everything you eat and drink, then divide it into 3 columns. In the first column, list the foods which always trigger cravings for more. These foods are sometimes referred to as binge foods, foods you know in your heart are problems, such as junk food, foods that contain favorite ingredients, foods you often eat in large quantities, foods that soothe your feelings. For many of us, this column is full of sweet, processed, starchy, salty, or fatty foods. In the second column, list the foods that are sometimes but not always a problem. If we sometimes find ourselves wanting or taking extra servings of non-trigger foods, they belong in this column. If you are unsure whether food belongs in the first column or the second, choose the first. Getting out of relapse requires a level of honesty that can be difficult, but we have learned that half measures have availed us nothing. In the third column, list the foods that are clearly not a problem for you. Foods you can take or leave. Foods that don't cause any compulsion or obsession. Foods you can eat in a normal amount and then stop eating until your next meal. The next step is to commit to an honest plan of eating that excludes all foods which trigger your craving for more and that will get you to a healthy body weight. Your doctor, healthcare professional, sponsor, and OA's pamphlets, Dignity of Choice, and a plan of eating can help you with this. Your plan might take into considerations allergies, medical problems, special dietary requirements, daily schedules, religious practices, as well as what, when, and where, and how you will eat. Next, Let's look at eating behaviors which causes problems and which may need to be avoided. These may include eating in front of the TV, eating in the car, eating at night, eating to celebrate, using food for comfort during difficult times, or other behaviors that are specific to you. What about the steps? At this point, you are on step 1. Until you accept that you are powerless over food and your life is unmanageable, step 1 will be the goal for you and your sponsor. Begin working with your sponsor, reading, writing, and sharing about this step, which is the foundation of the program. It is important to be thorough, consistent, and steady when working this step. Recovery comes from working and living the steps, and your ability to work and live the steps and follow your plan of eating is aided by using the 9 tools of OA. These 9 tools can help you break out of relapse by keeping you from taking that first bite. Here is a list of actions you can take using the 9 tools to help you get out of relapse. A plan of eating. Write down your daily plan of eating and commit to following that plan no matter what. Sponsorship. Choose an abstinent sponsor. Call them each day to commit your food. Discuss your previous day's progress and for support in working the program. If you don't have a regular sponsor, find a temporary sponsor. Do not use lack of a sponsor as an excuse. Telephone. Call one other member in addition to your sponsor. You may not want to, but do it anyway. Calls are hard to make because every time you pick up the phone, you're admitting you can't do it alone. Carry phone numbers so that you can call or text whenever and wherever you're thinking about taking that first bite. Meetings. Try to attend 30 meetings in 30 days. Go to oa.org where you can find schedules for face-to-face phone or online meetings. You can also download podcasts from oa.org and listen to them. The idea is to immerse yourself in Overeaters Anonymous. Literature. Each day read some recovery literature such as For Today, Voices of Recovery, a page from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the OA 12 and 12, other OA books and pamphlets, or Lifeline magazine. The full literature list can be found at oa.org. Writing. Write something every day. If your sponsor does not give you a writing assignment, you can write about what you read in OA's 2 meditation books, the questions in the For Today or Voices of Recovery workbooks, or in the 12-step workbook of Overeaters Anonymous. Action plan. Create an action plan that will help you to follow your food plan every day. This might include a plan for using the steps and tools, a way to deal with problem food behaviors, specific practices for planning and preparing your meals, and for dealing with special circumstances such as traveling or holidays. Talk to your sponsor about this. Service. Do service at meetings. This service doesn't have to be big. Help with setup or cleanup. Read something in your meeting or help welcome newcomers. Reaching out, giving to others strengthens our own commitment. Anonymity. OA is safe for everyone to recover, only when we don't share the stories and personal information we hear at meetings with others. Remember, who you see here, what you hear here, when you leave here, please let it stay here. For more information on the tools, see our pamphlet, The Tools of Recovery. Well, prayer and meditation are not tools of recovery. They are step 11, practices you can begin immediately. You can say the Serenity Prayer, the 3rd step prayer, the 7th step prayer, and the 11th step prayer. You may also want to include other prayers from your religious practice or special prayers that have meaning for you. If you are agnostic or atheist, you may find help in the We Agnostics chapter of the AA Big Book. Using these 9 tools along with prayer and meditation can help you keep your commitment to abstinence long enough to work the steps and gain the freedom from compulsion and obsession. Those are things we strongly recommend you do for the first 30 days. Here are a few more ideas that have worked for other OA members. Each day, reaffirm your commitment to abstinence. Restructure your priorities. Make your recovery your number one priority and commit to doing whatever it takes to recover. Avoid people, places, and things that aren't good for you. Take responsibility for eating abstinently. Do not use holidays, vacations, or others' behaviors and eating habits as an excuse for overeating. Avoid isolation. Open yourself up to the OA Fellowship and ask for help. We were never meant to do this alone. Stay in today. Focus on your number one priority, which is working step one, using the tools and following your plan of eating, no matter what. Make time each day for prayer and meditation, which will bring the spiritual strength to help you make right choices throughout the day. Write a gratitude list every day, which includes at least 5 things such as abstinence, clarity of mind, self-esteem, the family and friends you have, and the beauty of nature, whatever is special to you. For more ideas, read our pamphlets Before You Take That First Compulsive Bite, A Commitment to Abstinence, and Think First. Remember, it's progress, not perfection. We each determine the parameters of our food plan and the level of our commitment. We discuss with our sponsor any mistakes we make in our food choices. These mistakes are sometimes called slips. Slips, though not inevitable, do happen. They do not have to turn into relapse. Slips are not failures. They are learning experiences on your way to recovery. Discuss it with your sponsor or another abstinent member immediately. Quickly admitting a slip clears the path to resume your plan of eating right away. Not admitting it gives you another reason to eat. Don't listen to the disease that tells you you failed and you might as well keep eating. Get back on your food plan right now. A slip reminds us that we have a disease. We can't control it and we can't do it on our own. An emotional or spiritual slip, such as blaming, negativity, or dishonesty, usually precedes a physical slip. Slips don't just happen. They are tied to our emotional and spiritual condition. The compulsive bite is the last thing to go. With the help of your higher power, always 12 steps, and the 9 tools, you can do this. Many of us have found our way out of relapse too. Now is the time for action. Review the 15 questions. Make your 3-column list. Get to a meeting. Work on step 1 and the steps with your sponsor. Get into the tools of recovery. Find a power greater than food in you that can do for you what you could not do for yourself. You only have to do it 1 day at a time, 1 meal at a time. Do it for 30 days and see what happens. We will be here to support you along the way. Together, we can do what we could never do alone. Welcome to Overeaters Anonymous. Welcome home.